You feel it. The tightness in your chest, the weight on your shoulders, the quiet shame that you're not supposed to feel this way. It's the moment you say no and feel like you're cutting something off, something vital. You're not sure what it is, but you know it's not you. It's the moment you feel like you're betraying yourself, like you're choosing something lesser, something weaker. That's the ache. That's the unspoken pain that makes your breath come slower, your mind fog up, and your heart hesitate. You've been here before. Maybe it was the moment you said no to a friend asking for help when you were already stretched thin. Maybe it was the time you stood up for yourself in a conversation and felt the heat of your own voice as if it didn't belong. You remember the way your mind whispered, "But what about them?" and your heart clenched with a kind of guilt you can't name. You feel it again name. Not because you're wrong, but because your mind is confused. It doesn't know how to love your needs as much as it loves others. You've learned to hide your needs the way a child hides from a storm. You've mastered the art of saying yes, even when you feel like you're being carved up on the inside. You've learned to smile, to nod, to agree, even when it feels like you're drowning. You believe that love is giving, and that giving is everything. But what you don't know is that you're not giving love. You're giving something else. You're giving your power, your voice, your time, your peace. And now it's all tangled up in your chest like a thread you can't pull free. This pain, this fear, it has roots in the way you were taught to care for others before yourself. Maybe your parents or your caregivers gave more than they had, and you learned early on that your needs were not as important. You watched them pour themselves out without being asked, and you learned that love meant sacrifice. It meant putting others first, even when it hurt. You remember the way they looked at you with tired eyes, their hands shaking as they gave you everything they had, and still said it wasn't enough. You carried that lesson inside you, and now, when you try to say no, it feels like you're breaking a promise you never made. It's not just about being taught to give. It's about the way you began to believe that your own voice was too loud, too demanding, or not loud enough. Maybe you were told you were too much, too emotional, too sensitive, too difficult. Or maybe you were told you were too little, too quiet, too passive, too invisible. Either way, you learned that your needs weren't worth hearing and that your voice didn't matter. You were taught to shrink. And now, when you try to take up space, to speak, to say no, to ask for what you want, you feel like you're betraying. To say no, to ask for what you want, you feel like you're betraying the very person you are. This is not about being selfish. This is about learning that you can be both. You can be kind and still protect yourself. You can be caring and still say no. But you need to know that the pain you feel when you do is not your fault. It's not because you're wrong. It's because you've been living under a different set of rules. You've been living under the rule that you must always give, always be available, always be the one who stays. And now, when you try to change that, you feel like you're breaking something inside of you, something that was never yours to break. The key is not to fight the pain, it's to understand it. To know that the guilt you feel when you say no is not your own. It's borrowed from a past where you were taught that your needs didn't matter. It's not your fault that the voice inside you still whispers, but what about them? That voice is not you. It's the echo of a lesson you were taught long ago. And now you have a chance to rewrite that lesson. To write a new story. One that says your needs are not a burden. They're a gift to yourself and to the people who truly matter. This is the moment where you begin to see your own pain not as a weakness, but as a sign that you are becoming something new. You are becoming the kind of person who knows their worth, who knows when they need to say no, and who knows that it doesn't make them a bad person. It makes them a whole person. This is not betrayal. This is not selfishness. This is the beginning of a new kind of love. The kind that allows you to show up for yourself first, so that you can show up for others in a way that is more sustainable, more authentic, and more whole. You don't have to be perfect at this. You don't have to say no all the time or walk away from everyone. All you have to do is start. You have to start by giving yourself the same compassion you give to others. You have to start by noticing the way your body tightens when you try to say no and then telling yourself, it's okay, you're doing the right thing. You have to start by listening to the parts of you that have been quiet for so long, the parts that are tired, that are hurt, that are asking for something more. And when you do, you'll begin to see that you're not betraying anyone. You're finally protecting the most important person, yourself. The next step is to begin to talk to yourself the way you would to someone you truly care about. When you feel the guilt rising again, when you feel the urge to say yes even when you don't want to, remind yourself of what you've already learned. You are not betraying anyone. You are not being selfish. You are simply taking care of your own needs, just like you would take care of a friend's. You are not a bad person. You are a person who is learning to be kind to themselves. And that kind of kindness is not a weakness. It's a kind of strength that allows you to be present for the people who truly matter, without being drained by the ones who don't. You don't have to be perfect. You don't have to say no all the time. You don't have to walk away from everyone. You just have to begin. To begin by giving yourself the same space and time you give to others. To begin by allowing yourself to feel the weight of your own needs and not run from them. To begin by knowing that you are not betraying anyone. You're simply choosing to take care of yourself in a way that you never could before. And when you do, you'll find that the pain you've been carrying isn't gone, but it's no longer your only story. This is not about breaking relationships. This is about building better ones. When you begin to say no, when you begin to protect your own space, you're not pushing people away. You're inviting them to be closer to the real you. You're not being cruel. You're being honest. You're not being unkind. You're being kind to yourself, which is the only way you can be truly kind to others. And as you begin to do this, you'll find that the people who truly matter will not be afraid of your boundaries. They'll see them as a sign of strength, not a sign of weakness. You don't have to be perfect at this. You don't have to be strong all the time. You just have to be consistent. Consistent in your own care. Consistent in your own voice. Consistent in your own boundaries. You have to be willing to say no, even when it feels uncomfortable. Even when it feels like you're betraying someone. Even when it feels like you're betraying yourself. Because the truth is, you're not betraying anyone. You're learning to protect what matters. You're learning to love yourself the way you've always loved others. And that is a kind of love that is not only powerful, but also deeply, beautifully human. You're not weak for learning to say no. You're not selfish for setting boundaries. You're not unkind for protecting your own space. You are simply learning to be whole again. You are learning to be the kind of person who can give without being drained, who can love without being lost, who can be present without being overwhelmed. And when you do, when you finally learn to protect yourself in the way you've always needed to, you'll begin to see that the pain you've carried is not a mark of failure. It's a sign that you're becoming something new, something stronger, something whole. You are not alone in this. You are not the only one who has felt the weight of their own needs and the fear of being unloved. You are not the only one who has learned to say yes when they wanted to say no. You are not the only one who has felt like they were betraying themselves just for trying to be kind. But here is the truth. You are not a bad person for learning to take care of yourself. You are not a bad person for learning to set boundaries. You are not a bad person for learning to say no. You are simply becoming the kind of person who is finally learning to love themselves, and that is the most powerful act of kindness anyone can ever do. You are not betraying anyone. You are protecting the most important person, yourself. You are not being selfish. You are being whole. You are not being cruel. You are being kind to yourself and to the people who truly matter. You are not breaking anything. You are simply learning to hold your own space in a way that you've always needed to. And when you do, you'll find that the pain you've been carrying isn't gone, But it's no longer your only story, it's just one of many. And now you have a new one to tell. You are not the same person you were before. You are not the same person who learned to say yes when they wanted to say no. You are not the same person who gave more than they had. You are not the same person who felt like they were betraying themselves just for trying to be kind. You are someone new, someone who is learning to love themselves in a way that is not only powerful, but also deeply, beautifully human. And that is something worth holding on to. You are not alone. You are not wrong. You are not betraying anyone. You are learning to take care of yourself in a way you've always needed to. And when you do, you'll find that the pain you've carried is not gone. But it's no longer your only story. You are becoming something new, something whole, something strong. And that is a kind of love, the kind that allows you to be present for the people who truly matter without being lost in the ones who don't. You are not the same person you were. You are someone who is learning to love themselves in a way that is not only powerful, but also deeply, beautifully human. And that is something worth holding on to, not just for yourself, but for the people who truly matter. Because when you learn to take care of yourself, you learn to be better for them. You learn to show up in a way that is more sustainable, more authentic, and more whole. And that is the kind of love that lasts. That is the kind of love that allows you to be present for the people who truly matter, without being lost in the ones who don't too. So the next time you feel the weight of your own needs and the fear of being unloved, remember this: you are not betraying anyone. You are simply learning to take care of yourself in a way you've always needed to. You are learning to be whole again. And when you do, you'll find that the pain you've carried is not gone. But it's no longer your only story. You are becoming something new, something strong, something whole. And that is a kind of love that lasts. That is a kind of love that allows you to be present for the people who truly matter. So take a deep breath and remember, you are not alone. You are not weak. You are not weak. You are not a bad person. You are simply learning to love yourself. And that is the most powerful act of kindness anyone can ever do.